Matt's got it going on. I was out there for Christmas. He's got like a whole Smithsonian shelf happening.
Yes.
And
his
he's
shrine.
prioritized. He's prioritized it because it's in the bedroom. So obviously we can see what's important to him.
That's my fetish.
We'll get to those later.
Yeah, right.
Stay to the end. Stay to the end.
Okay. So let's talk first about your general vibe. What's your general, takeaway from the episode? Do you like it? Do you hate it? The format, the character. What were your overall thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, it was really good. But I like the lack of dialogue. Kind of left you up to I don't know, figure out what the vibe of the whole thing was.
Okay, Tony, what was your thought?
Watching Boba get his butt kicked for 3/4 of an episode, that was tough for me. I'm gonna say, getting out of the Sarlacc, that was genius. I loved that. Using that, I loved all of that. But just watching watching one of my childhood heroes just get his butt kicked up one side and down the other, that was a tough one.
Yeah. So Curtis, like, at what point did you say to yourself, "This Boba Fett sucks"? Was it when he got beaten down by the Jawas? When like some random sand person, and I think a female one, that scene, he gets destroyed by that sand. He didn't even get a shot in, man. Like, I know he's dehydrated and he got out of the Sarlacc. He's not at his best Fettness, but Fettness level aside, that was bad. That was a bad beatdown.
It was bad for sure. However, he escaped the Sarlacc. So at that point, I got to put him on a level of nobody else. So I've got to extend the guy a lot of grace. You escape the Sarlacc and then you're beaten down by a child. It's fine. You probably used all your energy in the Gauntlet video game beating up on the sorcerer, so you have no energy left to beat a child down.
Okay. I mean, we'll come back to getting his butt kicked quite a bit throughout the episode, but maybe I kind of wanted to talk to a Star Wars universe, sort of encyclopedia genius. Gabriel, I'm talking to you on this point. When I see him in the Sarlacc pit, the first thing he sees in there is a deteriorating stormtrooper. Now, I don't remember there being any stormtroopers in the fight with Jabba on the skiff. Right now, maybe that was an older victim of some sort. But what did you think when you saw that stormtrooper, Gabriel?
I just rewatched it last night, and I was too thinking to myself like, oh, there was no Imperial troopers present at that fight. So I'm thinking that that's either a plot hole or that you like how you said that's possibly from a previous victim.
Go back to New Hope. It does take 1,000 years for him to.
I was just researching the same thing because they said that where you'd be deteriorating for 1,000 years. So maybe there was another skirmish. So, Gabriel, to your point, maybe there was another skirmish even 40 years ago that happened that put that stormtrooper in that spot.
One thing I was glad to see laid to rest, or at least not referenced again, was that corny Sarlacc like mouth thing that, when they did the redos and they added all the, CGI stuff. Remember that? Yes. Mouth came out. Yes. Thankfully, that mouth was not a part of this, and they're just not paying homage to the new, add-ons from that. Go ahead, Tony.
That tentacle looked more like when he killed him. It looks more like that stereotypical dead guy tongue out.
Yeah,
there's one tentacle that's just laying out that way. Like,
yeah, it looked very similar to the tentacles we saw in Jedi during the fight.
But with like a Jabba death with the tongue just hanging out after he's dead, just laying out there.
Yes.
I did like the reference to the fact that his armor was removed. The Jawas would be just the scavengers to come along after some big disaster like that, take whatever they could from the skiff. And here, when he ends up getting the armor back at some point in the Mandalorian. So that's a nice little reference where, it's on the black market and the Jawas sold it to somebody along the line. And,
I agree.
No, I like that because that now shows us how in the first episode of The Mandalorian season 2, we learned that the person, if remember who was in Boba Fett's armor but was not him, referenced buying that armor from the Jawas.
Right.
So we now know how the Jawas had that.
And it's great to see them as sort of the bottom feeders. You see them again later on in the episode when he drops his helmet outside of the cantina and the guys with the shields attack and the Jawas go right to Jawas are
all of the credits. Yeah.
I loved it.
Okay, so he gets out of the Sarlacc pit. We all agree, epic beginning. And how long have we been waiting? Decades to see Boba Fett get out of that terrible. I mean, what a terrible, inglorious ending for one of our favorite Star Wars characters. We finally get to see redemption, right? How did that feel,
That's
Matt?
right.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously knew he got out of there, but finding out, he stole the oxygen from the dead stormtrooper, and then he, flamed his way out. It was pretty good, yeah.
Excellent. Cool. All right, so he gets, beaten up by the Jawas, and then our other favorite residents of Tatooine come along, and the slave traders with the banthas.
Yeah,
exactly. And now he's a prisoner. He's obviously going to be, turned into a slave of some sort. Although, their ways of keeping prisoners sketchy, odd. Like what is it exactly? They're not making very good use of this guy for the time they've got him. But I did like the whole drag him through the desert with the tether. What'd you think of that, Curtis?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. The what are those creatures called? Like bantha? Those big banthas. Okay. So I've always loved the banthas because going back to the original Star Wars, I mean, they were just basically elephants. And I don't know where PETA was at the time. How do I take elephants to the desert and then cover them in fur and then walk them out in front of a camera? I don't get that part. But anyway, they've always been one of my favorite characters. And then the Sand People, they just have they don't care about anything. They're just like, you're my property now. I'm going to drag you behind and then tie you to a concrete pillar and just leave you out in the desert.
Well, worse, we're gonna let our kids beat up on you for a little while.
But luckily, we're gonna sit you next to the fire. So I know we're in the desert and you have no water. I'm gonna prop you up here next to the bonfire. So I thought that was great.
Right, and worse, let's put you next to this Greedo character who's gonna snitch on you no matter what you do.
He's a traitor. Straight up traitor.
Rhodians are the worst.
Wait, what are they called, Tony?
Rhodians.
Rhodian, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rhodian sold him out the very first chance he got. I mean, we got to see him at least kick ass on the dog that came jumping at him from the fire.
Yes.
That weird lizard dog, he at least kicked that thing's ass and gave it a little hush now. And then the Greedo sells him out, man, starts yelling. Hey, right. And that's when he gets his ass kicked by the female Sandman. You think that was a female? It was like the Chiefs, came out of the same tent.
I thought so at first, and then I was like, no, I think that was maybe just like a slimmer male, maybe.
I don't know, moved like a woman, had the long,
Yeah.
I'm thinking
that was the shaman's main squeeze.
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right.
She laid a hurting on him, man.
But I think that because he didn't kill the kid, I think that's why he got sort of that test instead of them just whacking him in the middle of the desert and leaving him there.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
fair enough.
I thought the same thing.
That goes to the future stuff when they're talking about how he's going to rule, I think, kind of laying that groundwork in there.
Yeah, well, of course, at the end when he delivers the head and doesn't take any credit for it, of that weird scorpion dragon thing, you know,
Yep.
they get
But the chief
six-legged
knew.
sea creature.
I feel like the chief knew because the
Right.
kid was taking all the awards, getting the pats on the back, and that's when the chief didn't even look at Boba, but he just kind of hands his cup back to him, like,
Yeah.
I got it, I get it, thank
Here.
you, thank you.
Drink out of my urchin.
Drink out of my urchin.
Notice that
Yeah.
they killed him the same way that Jabba died. Chain
Oh.
around.
Ooh,
Choking
okay,
him
that's
with
a nice little,
a chain. Yeah.
nice little link back.
Yeah.
It would have been
Yeah.
nice if we had seen Boba kill Bib Fortuna the same way.
Oh yeah.
Did we see him kill Bib Fortuna?
In Mandalorian.
Yes, we did.
Oh yeah,
Last
the
one.
end of. Yep.
So now this brings us to, you know, he's did the flashback and now he wakes up and he's in a back to tank. He's recuperating, you know. Now we're at the modern time of he's now taken over Jabba's empire. He's killed Bib Fortuna. You know, I worry a little bit about the physique of Boba Fett. You know, like when I look at him, I don't know, Curtis, Tony, you guys, I don't know, Matt, if you'll recognize this. Do you remember the Iron Sheik from old school wrestling? Doesn't this cat look like the Iron Sheik to you?
You know, funny.
He has like an Iron Sheik vibe to him.
It's old man strength, man.
Funny side note to that, Mike. It is old man strength. The Iron Sheik was many moons ago. I was working out at what became a Planet Fitness, and he was my personal trainer for a day. I paid $150 to have him be a personal trainer.
Get the hell out of here.
For one day, and he was the worst. Every personal trainer I had kind of the physique I have now. So doing things in reps of 20, that was like, all right, you know, you're pushing me. He started everything at 100.
Oh yeah.
Every single thing he started was at 100. And when I saw the card for him, I was like, I said to my friend Christian, who he ran part of that gym, I said, is that really? He goes, oh yeah, you know the old wrestling man. He's really old. I was
That's fantastic, bro.
Yeah.
Did he bring out Sergeant Slaughter as like his, you know,
No.
towel guy? No.
It was he showed up and he's like, okay, let's do it. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And everything was okay. Do 100 push-ups. Let's start warming you up.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
I mean, I like Tamira. I like the actor. I like his look, but I just can't get Iron Sheik out of my head. If you look at a picture of Iron Sheik,
I think
looks
you
just like him.
side by side that. Yes, sir.
Yes, totally.
Well, now that's true, but Michael, you're like 2 rubber bands away from being Lou Albino. So don't kid anybody about wrestling, you know.
I'm down.
Does that make you Cyndi Lauper, Curtis?
He just wants to have fun.
I'm sorry, what? Do I need a banana clip?
Curtis
Maybe I need a
looks
banana
more like
clip?
Ted DiBiase, you know, like
I don't even know who that is.
the $1 Million Man.
Yeah.
The guy that would throw the dollars around, you know.
Ted
Oh, yeah, that's
DiBiase
me.
and Virgil.
Woo. All right, let's get back on point.
Okay, so he's in the back to tank. You know, now he's sitting on the throne, getting heavy, just like everybody else who sits on that throne. You know, we saw fat ass Jabba, now Bib Fortuna as a fat man, and here comes Boba. Hopefully, his technique of not being carried around on a litter, which he was very adamant about, will help him to stay in shape. But we see a couple of different people come in and pay homage, right? Pay their respects. What did you think of that scene, Curtis?
I thought it was outstanding. I thought the idea of the different government heads coming in and paying tribute, as they called it, was great. And then they had that one white droid there who was like announcing people. And he was the guy, I feel like he was the guy who also put the droids in their spot during Return of the Jedi, right? Gabriel is nodding, so apparently I'm right.
EV99 is his name.
Well, there you go, EV99.
Yeah, the head of the
99.
But I thought that whole scene was great. So good stuff.
I'm curious about the mayor thing. You know, you had that guy come in and was kind of, you know, just an unsavory politician-like character, and you know, he was sort of dismissed. But he says, "I'm sure I'll be back with another continue." We'll see that coming down the line. He's coming back with men. We'll see how that develops.
He was trying to shake Boba down too.
The guy who used to be Boba's boss, but is now like his underling, the other crime boss came in, What did he have? Did he have like a Wookiee cloak?
Yeah, it was a Wookiee skin.
Yeah, your Wookiee pelt.
A Wookiee pelt. It wasn't a very impressive
Yeah.
one. I don't know. That didn't seem
That
like
was
a very
it was a
worthy
small,
gift. Yeah,
so,
that wasn't much of a
frail Wookiee.
tribute.
like a Wookiee, just a welcome Wookiee.
Yeah, at least the first Walrus Man brought like cash in a box. That was like, all right.
Oh, and wasn't it great to see like the Walrus Man and like all those old characters come back? It was just, I mean, to me, it was great. I'm sure it's only been like a few years in the Star Wars timeline, but to see like Walrus Man and some other guys there, I thought it was great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then the guy who is that crime boss that gave the Wookiee pelt, he looked very similar to the Bosk character, the Bosk bounty.
Oh yeah.
From Empire. I don't know what
like
the
lizard.
What's the name of that race?
Yes, Transdotians.
The Transdotians. Yeah, he had a great line, when Transdotian, even when he compliments you, it seems like an insult.
Like a threat.
The guy's like,
like
we hope you will never leave. What's that supposed to mean?
Apparently there's a lot of Transdotians at our family reunions.
Oh, well, you got to watch those guys. They usually move out to Seattle, though, so you don't have to worry about it.
Oh, my
Bam.
Oh, shoot. So now they're walking through Tatooine, litterless, right? He's got his helmet on. They're heading to the new cantina. And I don't know if you guys caught this, but there was a cool little scene where they had a small girl who was herding robots. They looked like little robot sheep, but they were made by Boston Dynamics. They were the big dog Boston Dynamics robots. So those are real military grade robots that are being developed in Boston, and they were in this episode. Yeah, go back and take a look at that. It's kind of
I saw the robots, but I just figured that was more Star Wars CGI stuff.
No, I think the Army's using them.
Yeah, the Army's using them as pack robots. They're really cool. Yeah. But anyway, that's a little detail. And then they go into the cantina, right? They head into the cantina, and some updates. I mean, this is not the Tatooine of, Joe Chifulio and Uncle Kurt. This is a new era cantina.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Things have changed a bit. What did you notice, Tony, about the new cantina?
Well, I don't know the new kid because that was Mos Eisley and this is Mos Espa.
Oh, okay. So it's a different town.
This is a whole different town.
Like Applebee's and Chili's.
Okay, fair enough. Could be like Kansas City versus New York.
Right. Yeah.
We're stepping up.
It's a whole different. It's more like the when we played the Galaxy the Empire game.
Yeah,
it's more like that town with that type of cantina. But it looked very modern. It was awesome. It was very brightly lit versus Mos Eisley Cantina, which was that. That's the smuggler's cantina, that dark corner, Greedo and Han and that whole thing. And this was very much more like hey, you've just gotten to the live casino.
Yeah, this is like Times Square versus like the dive bar in the Lower East Side,
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely more of a, that's definitely the money pit, where he's getting his coin. That's a good one.
Now we see Max Rebo from the old Jabba band. Back in action on the keys.
Max Rebo, that's his name. I couldn't remember.
And then what about the other dude, the flute guy from the original Mos Eisley? What's that kid's name?
Who's playing the guitar?
Yeah,
Billy, I think. Billy.
You know his name, Gabriel?
Brian.
The guy who was like on the clarinet.
Yes.
Well,
like
now here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you look at their face, they're made for like wind instruments. They have the little tiny mouth. And if you look at the Mos Eisley Cantina, they're all playing, except for one dude, they're all playing wind instruments. You walk in here and the guy's on a guitar, like, what is this? No.
He's wailing.
Not with those fingers. Not with those fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
Were they webbed? Maybe they were webbed.
I wasn't buying that. But anyway, it fit the groove of the bar. But it, to me, was a misuse of that character. Should have been on a horn or something, man. Oboe, I don't know.
They had the little servant people that were quote unquote service their helmets, So they're a little step up. So
servicing the helmet, tentacle heads. All those
And the old
tentacle
foot-
heads.
Thankfully, they
footnote.
did not have Gabriel. You remember her name? Zero's girlfriend. She was singing in the remake of
Is Size Snoodles is her
yes,
name.
Ice Noodles. That's
Oh my gosh.
Jabba's
With the
I didn't
long,
remember all
long
that
mouth.
stuff.
yeah.
I
Hey,
gotta say, I
side-
missed seeing Jabba's lair without Salacious Crumb was also disappointing for me personally.
Yeah. Jabba's jester.
Okay, so they go in there, they get their helmets serviced, among other things. They come out and still no litter. Guys walking around a dangerous town, admittedly, with a helmet full of coin. Curtis.
Calling timeout.
We glazed over the fact that now we have Gamorrean guards working for Boba Fett. That is a pivotal point.
Bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I kind of enjoyed that idea that he, brings these guys on and we finally get to see them actually kick some ass.
That's
But
right.
they're
So
like
I
the
viewed. Go ahead, Tony. You go first.
They're the skinniest Gamorrean guards ever.
That's true.
I mean, they were like the
Yeah.
runs of the Gamorrean guards easily.
They were
That's
babies.
true. But
Yes.
there were various shapes and sizes,
Like us all.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Curtis?
I just enjoy as we move into this context of we leave the cantina and we get jumped by people. That brings up the Gamorrean guard idea. I would like to make the best point that I found out of the entire 56 minutes of the show that I watched. The show played out like my childhood imagination. So I really felt like it was me and Mike Shafulio in the sandbox playing with action figures. And then we're like, oh yeah, and now Boba Fett's in charge. Yeah. And now he's sitting on Jabba's throne. Oh, and now the Gamorrean guards work for Boba Fett. Yeah. Bring those action figures over. Okay. And then they get jumped. Well, who do they get jumped by? Well, get Joshua's G.I. Joe ninjas. Let's bring those guys in. And so they get jumped by G.I. Joes. I mean, the whole thing was just, I was on the edge of my seat. I thought the whole thing was great, but dialing it back a little bit, I feel like the Gamorrean guards working for Boba was perfect, and they were necessary, obviously, when they got jumped by these attackers.
Yeah,
So,
because once again, Boba Fett gets his ass kicked, and the
what's up with that?
Gamorrean guards come to the rescue. Those guys were slicing and dicing, and he still ended up at the end of that fight having to be dragged physically by the Gamorrean guards, which was awesome, actually, by the way. That scene where they just unceremoniously dump him in the back of the tank. He's still got half of his armor on.
They put the thing in his
I'm
mouth.
thinking, like, is his flamethrower going to still work after this? Like, this can't be good. But yeah, they threw him right in there. There was a line before when they walked into that cantina where the female who was like the patron or ran the show there, she's like, would you like your Gamorrean guards to be fed and hosed down?
So side note, you know who she is, right?
Okay,
No.
I was trying to figure it out.
That's the girl that played the lead in Flashdance from the 80s.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Would not have known that, but she did ring a bell. Like I could, looking at her face.
Just her name. Whenever it popped up on the credits, I was like, "Oh, I know that name somewhere."
Right.
So I looked it up.
Threw me off completely. The head tentacles.
Yeah.
All right, now let me
Always
ask a
does.
question about the head tentacles, Matt. Do you feel like we're overusing head tentacles? Because we've seen them in Mandalorian, and now we've seen them a few times in the book of Boba Fett. Are there too many head tentacle people happening, Matt?
You can never overuse head tentacles.
There's lots of this particular type of species in this particular part of Tatooine. They dominate. It's the standard.
Clearly.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got this fight, which is, by the way, in my opinion, the best fight of the episode. Really, the only fight of merit in the episode.
Yeah.
And we bring back that shield technology, which we saw kind of in those droids in Phantom Menace. Those droids that would shield up and then start lasers.
Yeah.
And then there was also that shield. That same shield was used when Darth Maul was behind it, and Obi-Wan is pacing, waiting to get at him. And you had fibrous shield wall that was there, you know. So it was not kind of cool
good
to see that
scene.
tech.
I enjoyed that scene. Yeah.
And so here we see these guys all shielding up, and they have that tactic with the electro prods where you're all cornered in. Gamorreans come in, start causing chaos. What do we think about this girl, Fennec Shank, or what's the
Fennec
Shang? What are your opinions, guys,
Shan,
about this sort of, you know, his second in command, this woman that's supposed to be his badass? Matt,
do we know the backstory on her?
She was in the Mandalorian. She was being tracked down and hunted.
I'm thinking
by
like before the Mandalorian.
No.
The show. No, actually, that was more. That was in the animated genre called Star Wars: The Bad Batch, which came out earlier in 2021, and we learned that she used to kind of start out as like a kind of small-time petty thief working for actually the people of the planet Camino. And then eventually, after the fall of the Empire, she went on her own and started working on Tatooine, where we saw her in the first season of The Mandalorian.
There you go. Backstory.
I'm thinking she ties into the Sand People. I'm thinking she has something tied in there.
Okay.
The first time I saw, you know, Boba get his butt kicked by the female sand person, I thought it was her.
Ooh, that would be intriguing.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, I would like to see the two of them go at it. Actually, you know, I'd like to see them fight. I was a little, to be honest with you, you know, I was a little worried that this was sort of like a nod to the whole feminist movement. That okay, we've got another female lead character, and to me, the girl who was the lead in Mandalorian, who was his kind of, you know, that she was badass. She was like, you know, she looked like she could kick ass. This one, I'm not really sold on her as sort of a badass. You know, I'm watching her in that chase with the two guys on the tops of the roofs, and I'm thinking there's no way she's actually going to catch those two guys.
Now, I would agree with that 100%. I agree with what you're saying 100%. Matt, talk about the girl who was in Mandalorian. She's an ex-wrestler, right?
No, she's a former MMA fighter.
Yep.
Yeah, Gina Carano. She fought
legitimate badass.
Yeah.
Legit. So yeah.
You can, you know,
but I don't know if this other girl has it. Like, I don't know if whatever her name is, Femika Miata, whatever she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she would be more like the martial artist, as opposed to just a brute, like a brute strength.
She certainly has no soul. I mean, when she was up there on the top of the roof with the two guys, she kicked the hell out of both of them, and then quickly dismissed the one because all I need is one. I don't need both of you. So she had no problem executing that guy quick. And
and you know, when we run across Boba in the first one, or the Mandalorian, he's got that sand person staff, whatever it's called. I'm sure Gabriel knows.
Gaffy stick.
Yeah. So he got that somehow. So I don't know if he won it from the fight to the death.
And I was waiting for that, Matt, because when he shows up in Mandalorian, he's got the gaffy stick, and now he's with the Sand People. So I figure at some point, I don't know, maybe the chief gives him one, like you've earned this or something. But I think this is where he gets it.
Yeah, definitely. I like that reference. You know, so why don't we talk about our favorite parts of the episode? We'll talk about our fetishes. What was your favorite part, Tony, of the whole episode?
Ooh, getting out of the Sarlacc pit would be number one.
Okay, right on. Getting out of
the Sarlacc pit. Answering that question.
Yes.
How is it that you managed to get yourself out of this Sarlacc pit? And I'm normally not big on series with like that anticipation to the next one. But hearing the emissary to the mayor come in and basically try to shake him down. I was watching that with Gabriel. We had a short window where we watched a little of it together, and I turned to Gabriel and I said, "Oh, that was a bad idea." that was a bad idea. And that lead up to that, where she's caught the one guy clearly working for the mayor,
Yes.
you know, and just that ending piece where I'm like, oh, you're just, I really want Boba to go in and just torch that guy.
All right, so Tony has given us both his fetish, which was, you know, his favorite part, getting out of the Sarlacc pit, and you're looking forward to your favorite. Let me see what happens next.
Yeah,
you want to see that resolution with that mayor and how that comes to fruition. All right, cool. What about you, Curtis?
My favorite part, I think, is when the Gamorrean guards went to work for Boba. He said, if you worked for me, would you give me the same allegiance? And they knelt. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that seems like something we would create in our sandbox, like, ooh. And now the Gamorrean guards work for Boba Fett. Oh yeah, and then they all go into town and they're jumped by G.I. Joes. So when I realized that this is kind of laid out, right? Like it's laid out like my childhood, I would say that's my favorite part. And then what I'm looking forward to is probably the cantina owner who was the lead in Flashdance. I just learned recently earlier in this episode. She's a pivotal person. They would not cast her with that background if she wasn't going to be some kind of a manipulation coin in this entire game. So I'm interested to see what happens in the cantina.
Okay, I'm glad you didn't say you were anticipating her like throwing those head tentacles back on a chair with water.
That's a different, that's a different podcast altogether. That's not what we're talking about today.
You're a maniac, Curtis.
Tony, Matt, what do you think? Fetishes and looking forward to?
Yeah, so I think my favorite part was when he was wanting to rule with respect, and then he comes to the realization that respect's not going to work. He's going to have to put some brute force into it. So,
okay,
that realization that respect's not going to get him where he wants to get.
Yeah, and but then, an honorable at least attempt.
Yeah,
maybe the litter's not such a bad idea after all.
It's one of those. Oh, we tried. So.
What about you, Gabriel? What was your favorite part? And what are you?
Hang on. What is Matt looking forward to?
Yeah, what are you looking forward to, Matt?
I think the backstory of how he frees himself from the Sand People. I think that's going to open up a lot of answers.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Gabriel?
Small part and a big part. The big part was the only victory that he actually kind of got in that whole episode is when he saved the day and he strangled that new dragon scorpion creature. And the small part that I liked was actually a very subtle thing. When he was first in the Bacta tank, we actually got a brief extended scene of when in Attack of the Clones, he saw the helmet of his father on Geonosis, Jango Fett. We actually got a briefly extended scene of that moment. So I really enjoyed that.
And what are you looking forward to in the next episode?
To see if they're going to have this kind of be an isolated thing with like the underworld, or if they're going to try to connect it with like the rebellion and the empire and the larger organizations.
Well, we see what kind of money they're putting in his helmet, right? It's all got that Imperial crest on it. that was kind of a nice touch, I thought, too. All right, my favorite part personally was when that Greedo character got his head shoved down into the sand and destroyed by that scorpion dragon. He got ended nicely, and I was hoping that Boba was going to do that, but the way that creature just took him basically and just pile drived him into the sand, that was good enough for me. The thing I'm looking forward to the most is, number one, just finally seeing the Bacta tank take its effect on him and see Boba kick some ass in some of these episodes, but also looking forward to having more conversations with you guys about this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, good time.
We talked almost as long as the episode itself, so I think we're doing pretty good.
Does that surprise you?
Not really. Not really.